Okay, Tim, you're in the hot seat for
CCHL. Just wanted to use that. I've been wanting to use that for the last few days. It's so responsible, but you know. Well, welcome to CCH to the table. Thank you very much. So today we have Brian Pearson, the chair, Paula Davies, the financial manager, and Alice Johnson, the portfolio manager. No.
Elena Kidd.
Right. Sorry for that. And thank you all and welcome. We'll take the item as read and yeah. Oh, hold on.
I'm just checking we have enough people.
Sorry.
We were just checking numbers, but
No, we're well shy.
What makes us quorant? Is it half plus one?
We're here. I know we're all right.
One, guys. We do have two online, so we do have a quorum. Thank you.
is the
True, yeah. I've got so many. So Brian, sorry, and we are in your hands.
Thank you. Paula, Elena and I are pleased to present the Q3 update for CCHL, and we just apologise for Matt, who's attending a New Zealand Infrastructure Commission symposium at the Beehive today. So we thought it was really important for Matt and for Christchurch that we were there, and so Matt has handed off to us to update you today. So without Matt here, we'll do our very best, but questions that we feel that we can't answer and we're best to refer to Matt, then we will. The group financial targets are tracking to the SOI targets or better, and 89% of all the subsidiary SOI targets are on track, which is good news. It is regrettable that our group health and safety SOI zero serious harm incidents target will not be achieved as a result of the previously reported serious injury at LPC on the 29th of March. That remains subject to an internal ICAM investigation and a Maritime New Zealand investigation. So both of those investigations are continuing. We're very close. We're staying very close to LPC in support of their ongoing programs and enhance the safety culture and improve performance at the port. So I just want to reassure you that a lot of the CCHL time has been spent remaining deeply connected to and remaining close to and across what they're doing with their transformation program, which has very much got an improvement in the safety culture at its heart. Let's hand over to Paula to talk through some financials. So there we go.
Thanks, Brian. So just around financial performance at the Q3 year to date. So the group performance, it's really a continuation of the previously reported interim results, which did show solid results when compared to last year as well. The group's tracking well towards those full year targets in our FY25 SOI, and also on track to pay back our final dividend to council for the end of the month also. Just the second table on the slide highlights the subsidiaries tracking at Q3 towards that full year target. Just probably a bit of cautious nature of the uncertainty around the airport there. That's just related to the depreciation changes we saw last year around tax on buildings. So that'll be worked through as well as part of year-end processes. So almost at the end of June. So we'll be kicking into those year-end processes and look forward to presenting the full year results in a few months' time as well.
And you're going to send across a dividend payment, which is as per the SOI target, final dividend. So that comes across next week.
That'll be, yeah, I'll put it in.
Much appreciated, thank you.
Okay. So just moving to the non-financial, a couple of non-financial highlights. Following a process of board effectiveness surveys and assessment of director performance, we're going to be recommending to you the reappointment of 11 current directors, of which 10 are eligible per council policy for reappointment. So that paper will be coming to you soon. One of the 11 is outside of policy for extenuating circumstances, and we'll address that in the paper. But I think you'll appreciate when you understand those extenuating circumstances while we're making that recommendation with just one director who's we're recommending be appointed outside of the policy of 6 years. We also have 3 new CCHL subsidiary director vacancies, which includes the chair of City Care, and those are currently being advertised. And we've got 2 Christchurch, New Zealand vacancies, so 5 vacancies in total, for an appointment recommendation to come through to council on the 10th of September. So everything is on track there. The 3 director vacancies in the subsidiaries are the City Care chair, a director at Eco Central, and a director at Enable. We're also pleased to report that the associate director program has been reset and it will be relaunched later this year. All the subsidiaries, Christchurch, New Zealand, and Venues Otatahi are going to participate, and appointments will be effective from the 1st of February next year for 18 months. And just to remind you, the objective of the AD program is to improve governance capability in Christchurch and grow the bench strength of future directors for the group.
Yeah, sure. So further to that, as part of the impact program, we have quite a bit of activity in our diversity, equity, inclusion program. That includes a repeat of our assessment of gender diversity and of the gender pay gap across the group. That will be finished by July. There's also a number of activities kind of going on underneath that to improve those numbers on a year by year manner. One of those is Te Puna Manawa, which is our Women in Leadership program, which will continue again this year after some really great feedback last year.
Next presentation.
Right. Nui is our Māori Partnerships Pathways program that has undergone a bit of a refresh in preparation for the next financial year. And all the subsidiary businesses are working on, as we've presented to you before, on decarbonisation initiatives. We've presented to council previously and showed the emissions reduction plan tool that we use to model the carbon impact of decisions and timing of capital investment and so on. So that work is continuing. LPC has secured government funding for 2 of their decarbonisation projects, which is really great to see because that funding has significantly reduced. And the Sustainability Working Group, which is the sustainability teams across the subsidiaries, are all working currently on climate-related disclosures. These kind of mirror the New Zealand climate standards so that they can be submitted through to CCHL for our own climate-related disclosure, which comes out at the end of October.
So just to wrap up, the year overall is playing out very well. There's still lots to do and work on as we approach year end and move into FY26. And we appreciate the opportunity to just give you that small presentation in support of the report that you've received.
Thank you all very much. Just before I take questions, I'm presuming that with the incidents in LPC, that they cannot be, that's, if they are under investigation, there'll be no questions about that. Is that would be correct?
Yeah, we're not in a position to be able to elaborate on that at this stage, but when we can, we will.
Thank you. So I hope you take that on board, councillors. And any questions?
Yeah, thank you. And just a quick question on the intern or associate director program. It's a great program, so congratulations with that. Just wondering if you have any internal KPIs or monitoring of, I guess, a conversion rate of those interns / associate directors into fully fledged directors later on. Is there sort of a thought process or a pathway around that?
Yeah, we're resetting the whole program, and there needs to be some KPIs set around that too. And I think it's a point well made, because we do need to track whether or not we are actually achieving the objective, which is to improve governance capability in Christchurch, but also to build the bench strength and to transition associate directors in time into director roles within the group. We have recently made some appointments. The most recent one was Sina Cotter-Tate, who was an associate director at Eco Central 7 years ago. And Sina's been appointed to the CCHL board. So that's one example of a associate director coming through the program and ending up into a fully fledged director. We will look to track things and to provide some KPIs around that.
I actually think we have some others amongst the subs as well, but it's kind of anecdotal.
It is.
Hey, it's nice that happened. But yeah, thanks for the answer.
Thank you. Sarah, you're up next.
Kia ora, thanks so much for the report there. Listen, I've just, there's a lot of murmurings out in the community at the moment and disquiet around the port especially. And I'm wondering, you know, there's if you could provide some reassurance for people on that one. I know at the AGM last year, you reassured people that there was nothing going on by way of sort of deliberate moves for sales, those kind of things. And I'm just wondering if you can give us some reassurance around that one at the moment.
Yeah, it's quite frustrating, the extent to which there remains sort of rumour around the port about possible sale of the port, contracting out of the port's operations. As chair of CCHL and in my tenure on the board, the board has had no contact with DP World, which seems to be the organisation that keeps getting raised as someone who the CCHL as the shareholder and the company are engaging with. I know the company engaged with DP World. That's prudent that they do that, because they do bring a lot of knowledge and intelligence to the table that DP World, that the port can use in understanding their sector and developing their strategies. There is the port recently released a expressions of interest document, which is a very early stage piece of work in relation to the city depot and the inland port. And they are scoping out and wanting to understand what their options look like around that. One of which might be to consider some contracting out in the inland port and the city depot. One of the options might be. We've made it very clear, and the port understands that if there were to be any serious consideration of that, then we would need to be involved in those conversations, and we would need to engage with council because of the sensitivities around that.
Yeah, that's great. And I hear that the port are coming to talk to us in a couple of weeks' time too, but a sort of informational briefing session, is that right?
That's right. And we have a special session, CCHL board special session with the port this Thursday. And I've spent a lot of time, Matt and I've spent a lot of time with the chair, Barry, and Graham, the chief executive, really trying to get a deeper understanding of the background to some of the industrial relations challenges and how the transformation program is progressing, and how the current change proposal, which has been the subject of some ERA decisions, how that's all playing out. We think it's important that our full board gets a deeper appreciation of that, hence the session on Thursday. And following that, we think it's important that you as the councillors get a deeper appreciation of that. And there is quite a backstory to the current industrial relations environment at the port. And I think it's important to go back and understand where we've come from, understand therefore where we are at today and what we can all expect from here. So yeah, that's the intention.
That's great. And if we could make sure when the port comes as well, there's some concerns from the local hapu about environmental issues as well, around the potential enabling works that are kind of happening around a potential expansion at the port. So if we could have some information from the port when they come around any environmental assessments or things like that they've had done, that would be great as well. Thanks.
I can speak to that can ask the port to cover that off in their presentation on the 15th, I think it is. But there are two very effective groups at the port that are that involve Ngāti Wheki, and Ngāti Wheki are very committed to those groups and very productive groups that are looking at harbour health. And there's been some reassurances gained from Ngāti Wheki around that and the matter of the sensitivities around the reclamation in recent weeks, which we can report on on the 15th.
Okay. That's great. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Celeste.
Just explain a bit more about the decarbonisation projects that have been funded. Is that in the report? I'm not sure if I can.
I can, in short, one is for ship to shore power. I understand that's for the fishing fleet. So it's more scope 3 emissions. The other is for an electric reach stacker. So again, it's sort of a transitioning there. So both of them are pretty pilot projects to test different technologies.
And I guess part of the process will be looking at getting government funding if it's available for other subs.
Absolutely. Where
Yeah.
available, we can always try to access.
Always.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yanni, did you have one?
Yeah, thank you. So I was just interested in your group report, which I presume covers the companies, particularly on the intellectual, where you say one of the targets is a highly engaged workforce measured by staff engagement index. And I presume that's across the various companies, not just CCHL. Is that correct? What page is it?
Yes, that's correct.
So when will we be in a position to know what the staff engagement survey results are for each of the companies to know whether you're on target or not?
It's an end of year measure. So we would expect to be reporting that to you in the Q4 report. But I would call out there are some engagement scores that are reflected in the strategic update to council, and some quite positive trends there too.
Right. So I'm just trying to understand where, in terms of if LPC is found to be in breach of like the CEA, why that's not disclosed in this report. There's no mention of the LPC being in breach. And would you characterise?
I don't think LPC are in breach.
Right. So just to quote from the finding, this is from the ERA, I do find that the CEAs have been breached to the extent that the relationship between the unions and LPC is essentially defined as cooperative and collaborative, and such features have been notably absent in the manner by which the restructuring proposal has been developed and presented. It goes on to talk about not in accord with the wider good faith duty owed of the parties seeking to be active and constructive in maintaining, in establishing and maintaining a productive employment relationship. And I was concerned that the way that our report is portraying what happened from the ERA, fails to take into account any accountability from LPC has been found to be in breach. And I'm curious as to why. And
Can you try and answer?
yeah.
So I don't think I can answer that, for the reason that both the union and the company have appealed the ERA decision, and those appeals are pending. So it's not appropriate for me to make comment on that.
It would be better perhaps when LPC come and talk to us.
But
I think it's because they're subject to appeal. I don't think that we're in a position to discuss those.
That's actually an ongoing issue, so I think it's best that it's not discussed in
but
the
it's public information. The findings are public.
Which LPC and the union both dispute. That's why they're appealing.
That's fine, but
Yeah, they are both.
to characterise the issue being that MUNS and RMTU refuse to take.
Yanni, I'm going to stop it now because they are in dispute. So I'm not going to go any further.
I'm just
okay. Yanni, I'm stopping.
That's fine. So what I'm interested in is how do we get at what stage will we be able to get better measures around what's happening around industrial relations across our companies so that we know when things are working well and when things are working bad, particularly if we've had cases where things haven't gone so well, but yet in our quarterly report there's no mention of that.
There is mention of it in the report. But as I said, the company and the unions both are appealing those findings. In relation to the engagement survey results, they'll be reported to you.
Right. And so has there been any, I mean, I know you don't want to talk, I'm just curious if there's been any, as a result of the feedback we've given to the SOI, has there been any change of course around how we're dealing with our unions and our council companies in terms of CCHL?
There is a
other than appealing.
engagement scores, reporting of engagement scores from the subsidiaries to CCHL annually. That's now in the SOI for next year.
I can't actually respond. That's not your question though, is it?
Well, I guess there's been concern that keeps getting raised around the industrial relations, as you're aware. And I'm just, I mean, when I hear, for example, that there's been an appeal, it seems like it's challenging it rather than trying to find constructive solutions to move forward. And I'm really keen, like, I think for me, the worst outcome is ending up in industrial relations and conflict. The best solution is to try and work together. So I'm just keen to kind of know how we can have an assurance that that's kind of the approach rather than the confrontational legal approach.
Well, it's not the company that is necessarily taking that action. You know, it's a complex situation, and I think it's important that we have the support company at the table.
I think I'd like to move on because this is actually quite a complicated situation and it can't be answered today, but you've taken on board and LPC will be coming back to us. No, we're moving on.
So just
there are others that want to ask questions, Yanni. You've spent quite a lot of time with them on questions. Tyrone?
Thank you. This might be a question for LPC as well, but I might as well ask it here. So obviously there's been the ERA decision, there's been the appeal. Have there been any tangible changes in the organisational structure of the LPC in the interim?
The change proposal that was the subject of the Employee Relations Authority findings has now been confirmed
And implemented.
and is in the process of being implemented.
Right, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Are there no other questions from the team? Now, Alana, my apologies for getting the name wrong to line up. I've got to get it better. So, but you are the head of impact. That's correct, isn't it? Yeah, great. Brian, thank you very much. And the team. So I'll put this. Yes, Kelly will second it. Thank you. I'll put it all in favour. Aye. Abstentions carried. Thank you very much. I will now move into PX, and you're here for this as well. Do I have a seconder for that? Victoria, thank you. I'll put that, all in favour?
Aye.
Against, abstentions, carried.